Woodlawn Chamber, and I'm also a member of the Southeast Chicago Commission, as well as I run an executive to the 51st Street Business. So you know I stay busy. I'll be at meetings like I don't like the, 20 going north. So you know, this just went out, okay. So just so you know, we're out here listening, trying to find out what's going on and bring the information back to you. First of all, I'd like to introduce our planning team. We have Ms. Tanya Trice from the South Shore Chamber of Commerce. We have Ms. Diana Burnham from the Southeast Chicago Commission. We have Ms. Donna Hampton Smith from Washington Park Chamber of Commerce. We have Brian Freeland, Marcus Gill, Kenneth Ashbury, and Paul Thomas from Woodlawn Chamber of Commerce. And though Wallace Good isn't here, he is Executive Director of the Hyde Park Chamber of Commerce. So as you know, we have all the organizations for most of our surrounding neighborhoods participating to make this happen for you. Now, first, we want to say this. All of our sponsoring organizations, which we just introduced, we're 501c3s, nonprofit organizations. We do not support or endorse any candidate because that is against our charters. So we are doing this specifically as an informational forum for you, the community who we serve every day. The forum is not a debate. We are requesting that all the candidates to not talk about the present administration or the present Albany. We want to know who you are. We want to know what is your plan for our community. If this request is not adhered to, we will cut you off because we're serious about who are you as a candidate. Many of the people don't know you, and some do. But we need to know who you are, and we've heard all the other discussion about everybody else in the world, okay? Each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and talk about their plan for our community. There will be a timekeeper that will hold up the time cards, right there, timekeeper. So you know how much time you have left and begin to wrap up. Questions and answers. The audience has been given a raffle ticket and index card. Please write your question on the index card. We will select 2 random raffle tickets from the box after each candidate. And so you can ask your questions. And if you choose not that you don't have a question, we'll select another raffle ticket. This way we figure it's fair. No, because this way everybody gets an opportunity that their number is picked so that they can ask a question. And if your number isn't picked, you can't say we was being selective. Oh, you didn't pick me. You saw my hand up. We've been there before, right? Okay. If they choose not to ask a question, we will select another number. At the end of the forum, please leave your index cards with questions at the sign-in table because we're still concerned about your questions, and we'll try to see how we can somehow get them answered for you, okay? So even if you don't get to ask them here, leave them for us at the sign-in table. Our moderator has the option to ask a question of the candidates, so sometime our moderator might ask the first question, and then we will do the drawing for the last 2. Now, our moderator this evening is one of Chicago's top radio personalities. Let me tell you a little bit about him. First of all, I know we already know because I listen to him every afternoon, sorry. For more than 30 years, Cliff Kelly has been a prominent figure in the ever-interesting and always controversial arena of Chicago political stage. Kelly's expertise was honed through 16 years as a member of the City Council and has made him a much sought-after commentator, speaker, and analysis, not only locally, but on national and international issue-oriented television and talk radio programs. Kelly is a distinguished veteran talk show personality and is a respected thought leader on affairs throughout the nation. Kelly shares his wealth of knowledge to a vast listening audience comprised of Chicago politicos, decision makers, and community stakeholders. Kelly has been a host on Chicago's Urban Talk News powerhouse for more than 2 decades, and he has always had a love for the Woodlawn community. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderator, Mr. Cliff Kelly.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. I am so appreciative to see all of you out here. This is just great. I have been living in Washington Park since the earth was cooling. Been a long time, as Donna knows. And I just think it's great that all of you folks, listen, I was almost a little late getting here because some of you may not have known. I get calls from certain people, and you may not have heard, but the President Bush's library burned to the ground. Yeah, yeah. Both books were lost. And he was really upset because he had just finished coloring the second one. So anyway, but again, I want to give yourselves a big round of applause. This is great. This is great. All right. If I, where's my co-host? If I, yeah, you know, you ladies run everything. I'm just, I know. You want me to start on the? Oh, sure. Go right ahead. That's what I say. Let me tell you just a quick thing. Many of you know I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran, and we do a show that I started about 2 years ago on WVON. Yeah, on Saturdays. That's okay. We do a show on Saturdays about veterans from 4 to 5. And just not too long ago, there was a big discussion about women in combat. And I was the most vociferous campaigner for yes, women should be in combat. Okay. Women will kick you. and what I said, and this is true, mess with, I don't care what the species is, mess with the offspring. That's right. You know? And I'm only bringing this up is because a friend of mine that I was in the service with named Askew, we called him AAA, his daughter was the last, she just graduated from West Point as the cadet commander. A black woman as a cadet commander. You know what she had to go, which is just great. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Cliff. Okay, first of all, I want to introduce our candidates. Would you all just stand up right quick? We have Anthony Driver. Miss Jeanette Taylor was here, but she wasn't feeling well, so she left. But we had Denard Newell. We have Jennifer Maddox. We have Quandra Spacey, I'm sorry, dear. We have Kevin Bailey. We have Maya Hydrya. We have Nicole Johnson. And who did I miss right here? Did I miss anybody? Andre, okay. You know I didn't check your name because you can. Andre Smith, thank you. And you? Oh, yes, Kamitha Hill. I've been asking her name all evening, how to pronounce it correctly. So these are our candidates. So we're going to start, Cliff, with our first candidate because I tried to bring you on as you came in the door, you know. So our first candidate to speak would be Anthony Driver. And Anthony, that's your timekeeper over there. You got 3 minutes, dear.
I've worked on Capitol Hill. I've worked as an activist. I worked in D.C. to raise the minimum wage. I've worked in Chicago. I have my own youth mentorship program, and I've dedicated my life to making sure that no other youth in the city of Chicago has the same experience that I have. I'm Anthony Drive, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Very good. Yes.
Sure. So we're not doing the question.
Sorry, if you give the microphone
Yeah.
so that way it goes in the live stream.
Okay, got you. So I typically stand for most of the democratic ideals, but I'd like to take things a step further. So I support a $15 minimum wage. I support the decriminalization and legalization of marijuana with the stipulation that 30% of that revenue goes to black-owned businesses, or 30% of the dispensaries that are owned by minorities. The reason for that is because we have been disproportionately attacked and incarcerated for marijuana offenses, and I think it's only fair that we right that wrong. I was one of the first candidates before ProPublica put out the report about ticketing in a community to note that 5 of the top communities in the city of Chicago that have been targeted for duplicate tickets are in the 20th ward. We're the only large city in Chicago. Chicago is the only large city in the top 10 that has a vehicle tax. We're the only people who pay for a city sticker in the top 10 as far as population. These are different ways that the city of Chicago has targeted minority communities to keep us on a hamster wheel. I believe it's time for us to get off that hamster wheel. I believe it's time to right the wrongs that the city of Chicago has done to its residents, and I believe it's time for us to stop taking crumbs, and it's time for our community to thrive again.
I just want to mention, when people talk about this, I did a lot of work for NORML. NORML was the acronym for the National Organization to Repeal Marijuana Laws. So everybody thinks, oh yeah, Cliff smokes pot. And I say, no, don't smoke it. Don't take hot gas into your lungs. Eat it. But I'm being facetious, obviously, but this is a good thing. We've got states that have done that, and we've gotten a lot of money, and we have some major problems relative to that. Okay? Yeah, sure. It is assumed that the Obama Presidential Library will automatically bring economic development to the South Side. If the OPL never came to our ward, how would you address economic development without a catalyst such as the Obama Center?
So just as a point of clarification, we're going to go through all of the questions and then go to a different candidate?
No, we're going to ask you a question, and then we're going to have 2 questions from the audience, and then we'll go to a different candidate.
Okay.
And we might ask this other candidate the same question, so we want to.
Okay, got you. So when looking at the Obama Library Center, I support a community benefits agreement. I support a very robust community benefits agreement. But if you take away the Obama Library as a catalyst, we still have a lot of stuff going for ourselves in the 20th ward. Our proximity to the Dan Ryan, we're right between the Dan Ryan and Lakefront. You can get downtown in 15 minutes. The Lakefront is being rapidly developed. We have a lot of pluses in our community that we can use to generate revenue and bring businesses back into the community. I support repurposing lots in the 20th ward, so we have a dollar lot buyback program in the city of Chicago, but most of the time residents buy the lot for $1 and then they're stuck with a tax bill and they have to maintain that lot. What I want to do is have a 20th ward credit union or help out the Southside credit union that already exists, give our residents access to capital so that they can build on that lot that they bought for $1, and then stipulate in that you hire 30 to 40% of the business that goes into that business or the workers for that contract be from the actual community or that same zip code. I believe we need to decrease joblessness and increase our workforce. With that being said, we need a robust jobs training program. The reason why violence is so high in the ward is because we have the highest percentage of unemployment. If we can put our youth back to work, the violence would then go down. As I mentioned before, I support raising the wage to $15. If we can give people a respectable wage amount, they will stop selling drugs. They will leave a life of criminal activity, and they will gladly go back into the workforce. That will then draw more businesses to the ward. You'll see properties be taken care of more when you have more revenue in the community.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Good. Let me just say this. He really said something that I like because I helped form the credit union, the Southside Federal Credit Union. Yeah, right. It's great, and the work that went into that, it's a great organization. So if people go to 55th and Wentworth, right there. So if people go there, it'd be a wonderful thing. Yes.
Okay, I hope everybody got their ticket because we're getting ready to pull a number so you can ask a question.
Ticket number 832
All right. Okay.
And our next candidate to speak is Denard Newell.
My name is Denard Newell, and I am running for alderman of the 20th Ward. I envision a ward that is unlike any other ward in the city. I envision a ward where we are not left out when all the development happens. I envision a ward that's got better schools, that's got safer streets, and that's got economic development that's going to put the individuals in the ward who want to work back to work. As an attorney, as a pastor, as an investigator, as a professor, and as a business owner, I think I bring a wealth of experience. If you're going to be an effective alderman, you have to know how legislation works. The aldermanic position is a legislative one. Probably with the exception of Quandra, I'm probably the only one that really understands in detail how legislation is made. When I was in Washington, D.C., after I graduated from Miami of Ohio with a degree in political science, I worked a year and a half for Joe Biden on his Judiciary Committee. I worked another year and a half for John Glenn, who was my home state senator, and then I campaigned for Sharon Pratt Dixon. I really got an up-close and personal experience of how legislation is made, and legislation is made by building coalitions. I think wherever I've been all about serving the institution and individuals that I've been privileged enough to be a part of. And so what I'm saying is that I bring my wealth of experience, I bring hope, I bring vision, I bring new leadership. And I think that if I am fortunate enough to serve you as your next alderman, you will not be sorry, because this is all about you, and I'm here to work for you.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Ms. Newell?
Yes, sir.
Housing prices are rising while access is decreasing very quickly in Woodlawn, Washington Park, Hyde Park, and South Shore. This is typically a sign of gentrification, which you just mentioned. What systems can you put in place as alderman to limit those processes so that there are a range of economical housing options in these neighborhoods?
Cliff, I would love to answer that question, but a point of order. Are we going to go and announce everybody? Because if we don't, Andre, it'll be midnight. And you know what happens at midnight, Andre. And so I'll more than happily answer the question, but if we're going to stay with that and introduce everybody so everybody can be heard, then
Okay, we'll do that then. Is that all right? Okay. Because see, I know you know the answer to that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
That's right. Okay, that's fine. Well, let's do that then. You want to bring up, and just have everybody, and then thank you. And we'll have everybody to make sure everybody is heard. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, our next candidate is Jennifer Maddox.
Good evening. I don't know if I should step down or step up. But anyway, I'll stay up here and just be a little leveled out. Excuse me. But my name is Jennifer Maddox. Good evening. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for all coming out. It's freezing outside, and I really appreciate your support for coming out tonight to hear what we have to say moving forward, the ward of the 20th Ward. I am a candidate for the seat for the 20th Ward. I am also a 22-year veteran with the Chicago Police Department. I started working in the 3rd District, which is part of the 20th Ward, 22 years ago. And from that, I patrolled many of these communities out here, and I saw what was going on and what was lacking in the ward. So my first purpose was, what should I do about this? What is it that I need to do in order to make this not only a safer community, but an economically and working community that is healthy for the residents of the ward? So grassroots, out of my own pocket, I decided that I wanted to start a nonprofit, which is called Future Ties. And Future Ties is an after-school program, and it's a summer camp program that we work with our youth over in Parkway Garden Apartments. Now, that took some time. tell you, change takes time. And it takes a lot of effort, commitment, and it takes somebody who is willing to hang in there, willing to be there every day in the trenches to make sure that our young people and our families get what it is that they need in order to be successful. We have been recognized twice nationally with the work that we've been doing in the community through CNN and through L'Oreal Women of Worth. And with that being said, the work that is being done on the west end of Woodlawn, we want to make sure that that is replicated and put all the way through the ward in all the 3 different communities. So we want to address the issues of affordable housing. We want to address the issues of economic development. We also want to address the issues of safety, public safety. Coming from a law enforcement officer, we really know that that's important, and we also do know your rights trainings, and we train up the families and the young people about what it is they need to know what to do if they are ever stopped or detained by the police. So these are important issues that we need to manifest throughout the ward. Everybody needs to know about these things, and it takes us working together in order to do this. I appreciate your time. And again, my name is Jennifer Maddox.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kamitha Hill, and I am a candidate for Alderwoman of the 20th Ward. I am originally from Virginia. I have a degree in communications, and I have worked extensively in community service and working with underserved communities. I have a background in journalism, and I've written for local Black newspapers, and I am very passionate about helping my community and uplifting of the community. Here in Chicago, I work with the United African Organization, which helps African immigrants and African American immigrants, and we help and provide different services to help people become acclimated in society and gain the things that they need to have an equal footing. And as Alderman of the 20th Ward, I would work to do those same things. I'm very passionate about housing and safety and education. I think that it's not right that people would be priced out of their homes because of redevelopment, and these are things that don't have to happen if we work with local government. Local government needs to do more. They need to listen to community members, and people shouldn't be forced out of their homes because of redevelopment. There is something that can be done for that. Also with education, I think that educators and principals and administrators deserve and need more support from local government as well. Our children are, not to sound cliche, but they are the future, and we need to give them more support to prosper because they are the future leaders of our community. And safety ties into that because we need to make sure that our children are safe walking to and from school. I see it every day that they're facing things they shouldn't have to face as young people going to get their education. So I'm just very passionate, and I think that if local government would listen more to the actual community and residents and listen to us, then I think a lot of things would change for the better in our ward.
Thank you, Kamitha. Our next candidate is Ms. Nicole Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Johnson, and I'm a candidate for Alderman in Chicago's 20th Ward. My story began on Tuesday, December 23rd, 2011. I was home during my college break, during my holiday college break, and what started as a small conversation with my mother ended up protecting me from getting caught in gun crossfire at a fatal shooting down the street at a Church's Chicken on 66 and Halstead. It was at that moment, it was a pivotal moment in my early career, in my early life, that I learned 2 things. 1, that my community was in crises, and 2, that there was work to do. Chicago's mantra is a city that works, but it's clear that it's not a city that works for us all. For over 30 years, the 20th Ward has experienced extreme destabilization with our leadership. And right now, more than ever, we need leadership that reflects our issues and our values, leadership that reflects our work ethic, and most importantly, leadership that reflects our integrity. And we need leadership that is going to stand up and be brave and courageous to speak truth to power. Our government has failed us. They have been silent to the slow drone of population decline in our community. They have been silent about the closures of our schools and our mental health facilities. They have been silent about the 29% clearance rate of our crimes and our most heinous fatal shootings and homicides. Time is up for that. My name is Nicole Johnson, and I'm running for alderman in the 20th Ward, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Our next candidate is Mr. Kevin Bailey.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing? Happy New Year, right? It's cold, but we all here. Thank you for coming. I'm Kevin Bailey, 20th Ward Democratic Committeeman. A little bit about my background. I'll go into my professional, political, and some of the things that I'm working on. So professionally, I'm a civil engineer by degree and trade. I did civil engineer by degree and trade. I went to the University of Illinois. I ran track. I played football for the university, as well as doing research for the FAA, the Department of Transportation. As a matter of fact, some of the research that I put together went into the expansion of the O'Hare project that lets our planes land safely. From there, I went on to work in the railroad. I worked for Union Pacific at the time. I've since left there for about 5 years. That was 5 years ago. While I was there, I controlled portions of the metro system. I ran freight. I controlled things like emergency management for hazmat release and things like that. When we had the G20 summit, I worked with every level of law enforcement to ensure that when our president came here, there was no sniper post or any place where they can put anything to harm him. So I was happy to be a part of that. While I focused, right now, I help lead the distribution sector for one of the largest tech companies in the world. Essentially what I do is identify spaces in the market. We look at what's missing, we develop software around that, and I lead the go-to-market strategy. So as we develop it, the product or service, we ensure its profitability to maintain, continuously updating it. Outside of that, I never lost sight of where I come from. When I came home, I knocked on doors with a number of elected officials. When I was at the university, I set up absentee ballot drives for the youth that I knew lived in Chicago to support and be knowledgeable of the people representing them back home, right? And the entire time I would come back, I put together a workforce development program at the age of 19 where I raised $363,000 and put together a landscaping initiative that pushed people into what you now see as a safe haven as they do a lot of things around the entire Cook County. Now, as the committeeman, I've been a committeeman about 2.5 years, coming up 3 years. And since then, I've been focused on empowering the community through holding sessions about what a committeeman actually does. Because you would be surprised how many people don't know the difference between alderman, state rep, and so forth. And the issues that I ran on 4 years ago, education, health and human services, economic development, and public safety, none of that stuff has significantly changed. Yes, we're getting the jewels, but I think we need a lot more than that after decades of having no investment. So we started to coalesce committees focused on those specific issues so we can gather the information necessary, so we can gather the support necessary to change the dynamics. So I'm going to continue that fight and continue that trend beat until we have something that we all consider to be equitable stake in our city and our representation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Our next candidate is Quandra Sprites.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. Small disclaimer, I am under the weather, but I'm here, and I may glance at my notes, but it is all coming from the heart. Once again, my name is Quandra Spates. I'm running for the 20th Ward Alderman. I grew up in a single-family home in a very poor and gang-infested community on both the west and south side of Chicago. My neighborhood then doesn't look much different than what you see today. vacant lots, food deserts, drugs, broken homes, broken promises. I've lived in the 20th Ward for several years. My family has been in the 20th Ward for over 40 years. I graduated from Finger High School on the south side of Chicago. I attended Clark Atlanta University, where I received my BA. I attended the University of Minnesota, where I received my master's in human resources and industrial relations. I later received the MBA, and then I received my JD from Valparaiso University School of Law. I decided to run for the 20th Ward Alderman due to the lack of engagement, leadership, and community neglect that I've experienced in the 20th Ward. Our communities are failing. We are suffering from a broken, corrupt, and do-nothing system. The ward would benefit greatly from my extensive work experience and history with managing processes, working with diverse groups of people, and managing multi-million-dollar budgets. Our current alderman has decided to step down for various reasons. So we need an effective leader, someone like myself, who's going to properly advocate and represent the residents of the 20th Ward. I'm going to advocate and focus on economic development so we can bring businesses and training programs to the 20th Ward. I'm going to listen to the concerns of the residents of the 20th Ward. And we're going to work together, and we're going to collaborate on viable, real solutions in order to bring to the table. I'm going to allow the 20th Ward residents to come to the table so we can bring real workable solutions in order to rebuild our community. I'm someone who can meet people where they are, advocate and support them, because I know the value of building people up and leveraging relationships to improve situations. I'm qualified, I'm a grassroots candidate, I'm strong, I have the will and the determination. I'm a practicing attorney. I've worked in human resources for over 15 years. I'm on several boards, NAACP, She Votes Illinois, Help One, Save One. And we all will win if I'm voted in as a 20th Ward Alderman. Once again, my name is Quandra Spates, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Spates. Our next candidate is Andre Smith.
First, let me say thank you so much for coming out. This is what a democracy looks like. We are in a critical time in the 20th Ward where it is time to change the face of the 20th Ward. I plan to create a 20th Ward advisory committee so that no alderman anymore will sit down with a developer or a liquor store owner or anyone by themselves, never again. That way you will cut down the corruption from someone giving you something in your pocket. Now let me say this. I spent 27 years of my life servicing you. Many of you seen me out there, and many of you may not even know I was fighting for you because I didn't put my name on it because it never was about Andre Smith. But I'm reminded of a movie. The thing about a movie is there's many people that watch the movie. And in the movie, while you're watching it, you can see the potholes. You can see our young people getting shot and gunned down on the streets. You can see our schools being closed. You can see our mental health centers being closed. You can see our grocery stores become our gas stations. You can see funerals become our family reunions. That's in the movie. But the good thing about the movie is at the end come the credits. And you notice something about the credits? The only one get the credit is the players that was in the movie. Andre Smith been in the movie. Andre Smith has been out there. So when you look at your competitors or the other candidates, yes, they may have a law degree. Yes, they may have good accounting and this and that. But the question is, will they be there?
The thing is, Mr. Smith, stay focused on your plan. And we say we're not going to discuss the other candidates and all that. So stay focused on your plan.
The question is, when it's time for someone to stand up for you, who will be there? And I'll tell you this, the only person that's going to actually be there is the person that's been there, and that's Andre Smith. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Our final candidate is Ms. Maya Hodari.
Good evening. My name is Maya Hodari, and I'm asking for your vote to become the next alderman of the 20th Ward. I am a proud product of Chicago's South Side. I was born and raised on the South Side. My parents had a lot of kids. They didn't have a lot of money. I went to public schools. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. My twin sister suffers from schizophrenia, and we've all struggled to support her in managing her illness since the 20s, since we were in our 20s. And I say that because my family is like so many of yours. I bought my home in the 20th Ward 15 years ago. And since that time, I had a son. He's 11 now. And he's been raised right here in the 20th Ward. He experienced this neighborhood and so many neighborhoods on the South Side in a way that is very different than what I experienced it as a child. So I've been out here fighting for 10 years because he has experienced a very harsh reality. We've lived on a block that has experienced too many shootings, too many homicides. We've seen our young people not have the opportunity that was available to me and the kids on my block when I was growing up. I've been fighting for 10 years, not because I had to, but because I chose to. I'm a single parent. I had a full-time job, worked every day, and still needed to show him that there is something you do in the face of very harsh things on our streets. I stood up when young people were getting shot. I stood up and I joined the Woodlawn Public Safety Alliance and became a board member trying to create opportunity for young people and trying to have more police presence and better community engagement to save our young people from that path. I stood up when our neighborhoods continue to experience disinvestment. I sat on a board that advocated resources to improve our business districts and support small businesses in the 20th Ward. I stood up and I asked for more community involvement to help inform development in our neighborhoods. I've advocated for everyday people to have a voice in the decision making. I'm running for alderman because we can't allowing the same old thing when it comes to our political leaders and how they get chosen and how they get selected to represent us. We can't keep going along with the same old thing and expect a different result. I'm not a career politician. I'm an ordinary person with a son who loves the South Side, who has a deep affinity to the 20th Ward, who's fully vested, has roots in a child, and wants something better for all of us. I'm running for alderman, and I'm asking for your vote on February 26th.
Thank you, Ms. Hodari. Okay, right now we've had everybody speak, right, Cliff? Okay, so now we're going to get to the questions from the audience. And like we said, to do it fair is why we gave each of you all tickets. So it's a random thing, so you don't have to think that anybody's just picking their friends, okay, to ask the questions.
We're just discussing with the co-host here, and I'm thinking rather than, we may get back to those questions that we have, but you've got so many people here, and I know you all want to ask questions, so I think we're going to try to do that first, okay?
All right, ticket number 8321639. Please step to the microphone and ask your question. 8321639. Eight 8321627. Do you all have tickets? 8321627. Okay, I'll call the last three numbers on the ticket. 629.
My name is Aldermanic. I've been a part of the ward, my family, maybe 50 plus years. So, for each one of you, especially those from Chicago, because you really know Chicago programs, problems, issues when you lived here all your life. So for all of the candidates, please tell us your family roots here, what programs you've done, solutions, and like the boots on the ground Maya spoke of, please tell us what other activities that you participated in government to make this difference, because I only see people in here that are interested in knowing the truth, and not a selection by committeemen. It's okay, it's all right, but by the people for our next alderman. Thank you.
Yeah, why don't we do this in response to the gentleman's question? Just start on this end and go down and just quickly, we want to get in as many questions as we can. Get the mic from there. Yeah, just answer them as quickly as you can and pass the mic down to the next.
I'm Kamitha Hill. I actually am not originally from Chicago, but I do have family who lived here in the 60s. I do work in the community now. I work for a community organization, as I stated before, called United African Organization that works with African Americans and Africans. We do a lot of programs to assist community members as far as getting acclimated, getting them appropriate housing, getting them economic resources, such as if they need to go grocery shopping, or just the basic stuff that people need in order to get acclimated into society. I've done community work my whole life, and I'm very passionate about helping underserved communities. So that's where my passion is.
Thank you. Next.
Again, I'm Anthony Driver. My family moved into the community in 1965, and we've bought up a lot of property in the ward. So currently, all of my immediate family members live inside of the 20th ward. I've never resided anywhere else but the 20th ward, with the exception of the time that I spent in DC while I was in college. You asked about credentials. To my knowledge, I'm the only candidate up here who has actual city hall experience. I worked in the Office of Public Engagement for Chicago's mayor. And you also hit it on what have we done to change things. So in the November election, I canvassed the ward, 9 precincts total, collected 3 times the amount of signatures necessary in order to get a referendum on the November ballot for the amount of lead in our water. We did 3 things. First, we informed residents about the amount of lead in the water. 2, we provided them with access to city resources. And number 3, we asked them to sign a petition to get a referendum on the ballot. And the last thing I did most recently was bring an HBCU partnership with Google and HBCU students to the 20th ward, because our students don't have access to STEM programs. Once it was over, we gave them iPads to go back to school with. They did tech, they did coding, they had a bunch of workshops, resume building, and that was for about 50 students in the ward.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon. As I mentioned before, I was an avid and still am volunteer. I would knock on a number of doors for a number of elected officials. At the time I was in college and in high school, partially I didn't have a choice because my parents sent me out, and the other half, as I started to understand the responsibility of a citizen, I started to become more engaged. I've always been an Illinois resident. I'm originally from East St. Louis. I moved here when I was 12. Couldn't really tell my mother no, so I just followed her right on up here. Since I've been up here, a number of programs that I've been associated with is the National Society for Black Engineers, where we try to get more people engaged in STEM programs, starting from the youth, and ensuring that from a professional standpoint, that they continue their education credits, as well as become a part of, on the board, community board of a number of research programs. One is already coordinating over 6,000 people's health care right now throughout Cook County, and that is specifically focused on youth 17 and younger with multiple sclerosis, diabetes, things of this nature, as well as right now just been asked about 2 months ago to be on the board of a mental health issue where we're basically trying to provide more care for our youth as far as bullying and so forth. And one of the things from a legislative standpoint that we focused on has been community listening tours, which I started a couple while ago.
You got time, yeah. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Look for the time. I want everybody to know. Yeah, she's keeping time right there. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Again, my name is Maya Hodari, and I'm hoping to get your vote for Alderman of the 20th Ward on February 26th. I've participated in our neighborhood for the last 10 years. Most notably, I work to do beautification. I have advocated for safety initiatives and participated on the Woodlawn Public Safety Alliance. I also work with our block club. I support our neighbors' interest in having fall festivals. Basically, if someone comes to me and says, I have an idea and I want to connect with more neighbors, then I advocate and join forces to do various things across our neighborhood. I've gone outside the 20th Ward. I sit on a board that improves business corridors for Woodlawn, Washington Park, and some other South Side areas. And I just continue to do work because I'm committed to the South Side and to the 20th Ward.
Thank you.
My name is Jadard Newell. I am not a native Chicagoan. However, I've been in Chicago for probably about 22 years. But when I got to Chicago after I graduated from Howard University School of Law, that wasn't my first time in Chicago. I had relatives that lived on the South Side on 92nd and Normal. So every Sunday, we would pile into the car and come to Chicago, to the big city. And it was there that I fell in love with Chicago. I always say Chicago didn't choose me, I chose Chicago. So after I graduated from law school, could have went anywhere in the country, but I decided to come here because that's where my heart was. And so since I've been in Chicago, I've been a mentor for 20 of the 22 years that I've been in Chicago because young people are important to me. And I realized that it was because people poured into me that I want to do the same thing by pouring into them. So I've been a mentor with 100 Black men. I've been a mentor with I Mentor. I've been a mentor with Link Unlimited. But I've also been a part of some peace circles because what it is important is to teach our young men how to be emotionally available and not toxic masculine.
Thank you, Consular. Next.
Good evening again. My name is Jennifer Maddox, and I'm running for the seat for the Alderman of the 20th Ward. I am a native and born and raised on the city's South Side. My roots come from the Roseland community. I went to Corliss High School. Went to Corliss. And also, I went to University of Chicago Circle Campus when it was called Circle Campus. I graduated from there. I got my MBA at Xavier University, and I'm currently pursuing my doctorate in community programs, specializing in earlyhood education. So from that, I have also spent a lot of time trying to figure out the system, right? So from the grassroots up, I have been at City Hall numerous times, knocking on doors, sitting there, waiting to see who's going to talk to me, who's going to show me what to do, tell me what to do, but I had to kind of muddle through that stuff and figure it out for myself. So we do run after-school programs now through After School Matters, One Summer Chicago, and I'm currently a volunteer participant member on the CDAC committee where we represent low to moderate income families.
Very good.
Good evening. I'm Nicole Johnson, candidate for Alderman in Chicago's 20th Ward. I grew up in the Inglewood community in the 20th Ward all my life, where my grandmother purchased a historic gravestone on 65th and Green. I'm a proud Chicago Public School graduate, finishing at Beasley in the Washington Park community, as well as Whitney M. Young Magnet High School on the west side of Chicago. I then went to the University of Michigan to study political science, returned home and started serving as a third grade math teacher on the west side and southwest side. Completed my first master's at National Louis University, and then my second master's at the University of Pennsylvania studying education policy. My civic experience ranges from my participation in my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We have a mentoring program with high school students. I also serve on the Chicago Metro Board, YMCA, as well as the Metro Board, the Young Professional Arm of the Chicago Urban League. During my high school career, I also volunteered at the Peace Center. If you all know the late Hal Baskin, he was very engaged in that organization in the Inglewood community as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Quandra Spates, and I grew up right here in Chicago. My family, like I said, has lived in the 20th Ward for over 40 years. My aunts and cousins have lived here. I'm a homeowner as well as a landlord here in the 20th Ward. As a resident of this ward, like many of you, I'm involved in fighting for change and making a better future for us here in the 20th Ward. I'm on the board of several organizations, such as here in the 20th Ward, such as NAACP, No Shots Fired, Black Men Expo. I'm also on a connection committee of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority here in the 20th Ward. I've made several contributions, so I would like to just highlight a couple of the contributions I've made here in the 20th Ward. So this summer, No Shots Fired, which is an organization designed to bring awareness to the gun violence here in the 20th Ward. We had held our second annual rally right here on 63rd and Evans, where we had heartfelt stories from residents here in the 20th Ward to talk about their issues with gun violence, as well as I worked with Pastor Miller on the Black Men Expo, which was held right here in the 20th Ward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, my name is Andre Smith. I'm a native son. I don't know why the mic always messes up when I get it. I'm a native son of Woodlawn. I was born in 1968 at Woodlawn Hospital. My mother and father lived on 66 in Blackstone. So I'm well familiar with Woodlawn. Things that I have accomplished, I work with a lot of politicians over the last 15 years, but the most things that I'm proud of is getting the #1 trauma center on the south side of Chicago at the University of Chicago. Second is cleaning up 65th and Cottage Grove. If you went up there 8 months ago, you wouldn't be able to stand there because they were shooting all the time. Once I put my campaign office there 9 months ago, we cleaned that up. And you know what I found out? There was a young man that was 18 years old out there. His mother had died. He was 18 years old. He was out there gang banging, shooting, and selling drugs. And the thing that happened was, when I went to him, I found out that he was half a credit away from graduating.
Yeah.
I put him back into the school.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Give them all a round of applause. And let's see if we can work this out so you can get questions from the floor. That's the last numbers, right? Yeah. crazy. Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you let me tell you real quick story, because these people. I just want to say one thing. I want to say one thing. This is important. Because of education, everybody's talking about education, and let me tell you, that is so important. Just yesterday morning, I was asked to come to the Harold Washington College because they have a new curriculum. They have a new curriculum there at the Harold Washington College. You know why? Because a lot of those children, students, let me say that, do not know who Harold Washington was. That is so sad. So we had all of these people that, not a lot of us, worked with Harold Washington. And one of the things that I thought about, and of course the 20th Ward here, Harold Washington did not want to run for mayor. He didn't want to run for mayor because he told me, Cliff, finally I feel great in being an elected official. The man was brilliant. He was a new congressman, African-American congressman. They sent him everywhere. They sent him all over the country because he was just that good. That had never happened before. But I'm bringing that up because what happened, there was a meeting, and I told this story and people were laughing. There was a meeting at the Roberts Hotel. The Roberts Hotel, which was at 63rd and Prairie, a wonderful black-owned establishment. And we had the meeting there, and that's when we convinced him he had to run for mayor. But I'm only bringing that up because we had so many things at that time in this ward. When I passed 63rd and Kenwood, that used to be his office when he was in the state senate. You know what it is now? Selling liquor from people who not even are us, if you know what I mean. So there are so many things that have to be done, so we want to do that.
Okay. All right, we're going to ask one of our questions. This is for Denard. It is assumed that we gave you this question before. It is assumed that the Obama Presidential Library will automatically bring economic development to the South Side. If the OPL never came to our ward, how would you address economic development without a catalyst such as an Obama Center?
The first thing that I think you have to do is that you have to make it attractive for either new businesses to emerge in the 20th Ward or for businesses to relocate into the 20th Ward. And I think you do that first and foremost by investing in your people. I think that individuals who want to work, there should be job placement programs to find them work. And individuals who want to be trained, I believe there are enough workforce development programs to train them. So my thing is, I think it starts by attracting businesses into the ward, but it also begins by improving the well-being of the residents who are already in the ward. And I think you improve those, the well-being of those individuals by making sure that they have jobs, because once they have jobs, once people who want jobs have jobs, then what you do is you increase the economic base of the area. And when you increase the economic base of the area, then you make the area attractive for businesses to either emerge or businesses to relocate into the 20th Ward.
Okay, Maya, can you answer that question?
Again, my name is Maya Hodari. So if the Obama Presidential Center doesn't come, I think that there are still transformative development initiatives that we can have at key nodes across the 20th Ward. In my mind, one of the key nodes is 47th and Halsted. There's an abandoned commercial structure at 47th and Halsted. It's right across from Fair Play Grocery. So I would love, regardless of what happens with the Obama Presidential Center as alderman, I would love to do visioning with neighbors in close proximity right there in New City to think about what could happen on that site. I would love to consider doing a fulfillment center as a transformative development initiative to really spear more development, more growth in New City. I would love to do visioning on about Garfield, some key transformative project that could happen right there on the main boulevard, and 63rd and State is another keynote that I would love to focus on and consider.
Okay, Ms. Maddox, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. Sure. Again, my name is Jennifer Maddox, and first thing and foremost, you need a good planning team to be behind you no matter what you do. So you have to make sure you select a team, and then you mobilize your local resources. And when you mobilize your local resources, who's number one? Who's top priority? Community, that's right. Everybody in this room. You are the most important local resource that we have. After that, then you have to make sure that you form those committees with your community so that they can take the lead to help you develop some of the issues and find out what the issues are that's going on, not only in the ward, but on your block. What's happening on your block, down the street, around the corner, that's affecting you and the safety and well-being of your family. Secondly, you need capital, right? So you have to bring resources into the community and work with our local businesses so that we can have employment opportunities for our people. We need to do that. And third, what's team synergy? Team synergy means we have so many organizations and universities within our ward already that do not work together. They're siloed. So we need to work together in order for the greater good of the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll continue. Housing prices are rising while access is decreasing very quickly in Woodlawn, Washington Park, Hyde Park, and South Shore. This is typically a sign of gentrification. What systems can you put in place as alderman to limit that process so that there are a range of economical housing options in these neighborhoods? And let me say before I call on Ms. Hill, yes, Ms. Hill, I want to say this just quickly. I live in Washington Park. I have seen little buses come by, and people get out of the bus and they walk, and they don't look like us, and they're walking up and down, taking addresses and so forth. So there's big plans, and that's why we need some real strength in this city council, because they're after us, I want to tell you. Yes, sir. Ms. Hill, would you respond to that, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That's an issue that I'm very passionate about. On my block, I've seen there's so many vacant homes, and like you were saying, there's a lot of contractors coming into the neighborhoods, just kind of scoping things out. I think that priority needs to be given to Black contractors. We need to have people coming into our neighborhoods who identify with our needs, who understand our needs. And I think once we have that coalition of people coming in, they'll be more sensitive to what our neighborhoods need. I think that Black business also goes in line with that, because if we have Black business promoting and driving economic forces in our neighborhoods, then they're more likely to see what our needs are, and we also need to work with local government, because there has to be a system in place that will not have people who own their homes already to have their property taxes going up so they won't lose their homes.
Thank you so much. And just to add what I was saying, had a big fire, 12-flat building, beautiful, and I won't get into what's happening with that, but it's certainly not what ought to be done. Mr. Driver, please, same thing.
So I'm very passionate about housing and the rising cost of rent as well. There's a few things that we can do to fix this issue. So first, there's a such thing called the ARO, Affordable Residence Ordinance. There's a loophole in there that allows developers to, if you don't want to put a certain amount of affordable housing in your new development, you can pay into the fund and the mayor can use it at his discretion. I want to close that loophole and ensure that they are providing affordable housing. Number two, I support rent control. We have to do something to tame these rising costs of rent and keep our residents in their homes. Number three, and probably the most important thing, this is such a big issue in the 20th ward that we need a housing advocate. Each alderman gets 3 different jobs to appoint to work out of their office. One person's sole job within my office will be to be a housing advocate. Eviction is rampant. Let us provide you with access to legal resources so that you can stay in your home. This housing advocate should help with, as far as the neighborhood cleanup and making sure the property value is staying where it needs to be, that you're not unfairly assessed, as we saw with Joe Barrios. So this housing advocate, sole job, day in and day out, will be to advocate on your behalf and ensure residents can stay in their homes.
Thank you so much, sir. Great. Mr. Bailey, same thing.
Absolutely. And just as a question, would it be possible to show us the 30 seconds left? Because just done, we kind of try to rush up in the end, and we don't want to get yelled at. All right. Kevin Bailey, 20th Ward, committeeman. As committeeman, I've been focused on advocating for our community members to make sure that we are not being displaced from our homes. We have fought illegal evictions and maintained people's homes without them being kicked out. And we need rent control. We need tax abatement programs that really enables the current owners to make sure that they are not necessarily being taken advantage of, or that they have all the resources at hand to make sure that they can ride the wave of the increase of taxes until we can have a long-term strategy put into place. And as we do have different development taking place in our ward, I think we need to have a residency requirement. So as development takes place, people are able to earn a livable wage, with construction taking place in their area, and they can afford to live in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Describing, this is very important because you all are going to have to hit the ground running, whoever wins this election. Describe your experience with an aspect of the legislative process, for example, reviewing public budgets, drafting, sponsoring legislations or appropriations, organizing related to an ordinance, or how will you translate the people's will into an ordinance, council votes, committee appointments, and public-private financing for the 20th Ward. These are things that are very, very important to the 20th Ward.
In the vein of fairness, Nicole Kwanda.
If you will excuse me, I got this.
Yeah, they haven't gotten a chance to answer.
I know that. They're getting ready to be called to answer this one. I got this. Yeah. Okay. I was going to Nicole next to answer that question. Thank you.
Okay, so as a, let's see, where are we? So I'm a teacher. I'm a classroom teacher, and one of the things we do is give homework to prepare our young people for their future. And so I've done my homework to provide leadership to prepare the 20th Ward for a better future, a better economic future. Starting with my work in community development working at Teamwork Inglewood, I helped develop Inglewood Planning Advisory Committee that created more transparency and support within the zoning and development process for the 5 aldermen that service the Inglewood community. And then in addition to that, I helped pass and develop the strategy to pass automatic voter registration throughout the Illinois legislature as well. And thank you.
Andre Smith, I'm in a process of launching what will be called the One Blue City program for anti-violence with the superintendent of the police department. What this does will help bring down the crime. You know, other than that, I work with a lot of elected officials on a lot of different things. But I pray that somebody would, the next forum that we have, be a debate or something, because this, you know.
I think what we're doing is very important because we don't know any of you guys. So to debate about some issues that we don't even know if you even know what you're talking about is ridiculous. We need to find out who are you and what is your plan, and that's what we're here for today. Excuse me, no comment. We're moving on. Okay, you want to pull a ticket? Pull a ticket.
Yeah, we're going to try. We want I know you got some good questions. Get something from you, so
That's
let's try
right.
to do this.
How many people have tickets in their possession? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good, good. Okay.
Ticket number, the last four digits, 1649.
Has you got it?
No, he just put one in. They already in the bowl.
Ticket number 1651.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
No.
got it. Bravo.
No, we got
Testing. My name's Harold. So my question is, do you believe in term limits? Why or why not? That's it. To all, to everybody. Well, that's on the panel. Term limits, why or why not?
Yes, I believe in term limits. I actually encouraged 10 by 10 to get involved with Governor Pat Quinn to push term limits. So I believe in it because it cuts down some of the corruption and it allows that a mayor or alderman to be there for a short period of time to do what they have to do and not allow corruption to take place and be there forever. And that's the problem with our pension problem as well.
Yes, I also agree with term limits. I believe that we shouldn't have career politicians. This process should be for people who want to groom and get young people involved in this political process, and I also think term limits cuts down on corruption as well.
Hello, Nicole Johnson, candidate for Alderman of 20th Ward. I do support term limits, particularly three terms. It takes most economic development projects at least 10 years to get started and to manifest the results in which they were supposed to provide. One of the things that my leadership will be doing in those 3 terms is supporting the South Suburban Airport, which has already pretty much been approved by the FAA and the past governors as a bipartisan effort. It's intended to bring about $1.3 billion to the region. Communities like ours, particularly this area in the 20th Ward, will benefit greatly because of the metro, where you can get to the South Suburban Airport within 20 minutes. And there are 5 emerging airlines in Europe that are looking for major hubs to come into the United States, and we will be a prime candidate for that. Thank you. Nicole Johnson.
Good evening again. My name is Jennifer Maddox, and yes, I do agree with term limits and also age limits coming from a law enforcement officer. I'm going to say that at 63, we should not be out on the streets. We need to have fresh blood, fresh bodies, fresh young people coming in to do the job that we are trained to do. And also, I believe it does cut down on corruption, and it cuts down on the disconnect, too, from generation to generation.
Hello, my name is Dedard Newell, and I do believe in term limits, but unlike Jennifer, I don't believe that they should be age appropriate because new ideas can come from anywhere. And just as long as someone has a heart to serve and they want to do better by the people that they have chosen to serve, I think that anybody should be able to serve. But I do believe that there should be limits.
My name is Maya Hodari. I definitely support term limits. I believe that the aldermanic position is to be of service to people. And so term limits helps keep that center. It helps people understand that that position is to work collaboratively and to be of service to the constituents of the 20th Ward. So it should be maxed at a specific number of terms.
Kevin Bailey, 20th Ward Committeeman. I do believe in term limits. I like the idea of term limits at the city and county level because it does keep things rolling a lot quicker. But I really would like to see more instances where that has been applied and see how to best apply it here in the city of Chicago. But when it comes to like state and federal, I think we need to take a look and see what an impact analysis would be to have term limits put on their in their seats because they operate a little bit differently.
Again, I'm Anthony Driver. I wholeheartedly support and endorse term limits. I believe it helps cut down on corruption. And also, if you're an elected official and 8 to 12 years has gone by and you have not done your job to train up a successor or someone out of the community, you have failed as an elected official. In the words of Clifton Pierce, I believe you are there to do a job, not to get a job.
I'm Kamitha Hill, and I also believe in term limits. I think that it gives people an opportunity to come in and see their ideas and their thoughts come to fruition and then groom the next person to come in. And it also cuts down on corruption.
All right, those with tickets, raise your hand again. Okay, we're gonna start picking y'all out since y'all ain't seem to be lottering over here. You got a winner right here. Okay, from the last ticket call.
Yes, how y'all doing out here? My name is Corey Mason. I'm co-founder, executive director of this organization called FLY, Fearless Leading by the Youth. We're the ones who help to get the trauma center there at the University of Chicago. I'm born and raised right here in Woodlawn, 61st and Cottage Grove to be exact. And the thing is, what I haven't really been hearing too much of is what have these potential candidates done already in the community, in the 20th Ward, within the last 1 or 2 years. I'm kind of like in the sense of Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? So I would like to ask you all, what programs or initiatives have you done in the last year or so that you could progress or advance once you become the alderman? Thank you.
Okay, let's do this because it's 9 of you all. Let's say one thing and no explanation. Just name the thing that you've done this last year or two. Did they? Okay. Young man, everybody said that they already answered the question, so okay. Let's get there. Ticket man.
My name is Mario, and since 2012, the pension fund has grown 116%. But during that same time, the city's budget only grown 20%, and the city's payroll grew to only 20%. How will you rein in that pension without increasing taxes on us?
For anybody want to answer the question? Okay, Nicole.
Nicole Johnson, candidate for Alderman 20th Ward. So again, going back to the South Suburban Airport, it will bring the region $157 million in state taxes that will help close that pension obligation that we have. In addition to that, doing a head tax on corporations making over a specific revenue as well as per employee. Seattle is one of those cities that's actually implemented that with the entrance of Amazon. So those two in tandem, and then the legalization of cannabis, which can, in California, they already tax it at 50%, and so that will, in addition to those various taxes, we'll be able to close that gap. Thank you.
Very
Nicole
good,
Johnson.
Nicole, very good. Ticket hands, let me see the ticket hands. Okay, right there, yes, right there.
Anyway, how y'all doing this evening? Okay, so I have a question because I am a new resident in the 20th Ward and I also work in media. So I ask the hard questions. So prepare for them, all right? So I want to talk about, we're talking about gentrification, corruption, stuff like that. That being said, I have questions about the money. Fundraising.
Excuse me, dear, I don't mean to interrupt you, but a white Chevy is getting ready to be towed. Is that Z188290? And a black Honda is getting ready to get towed. Is that ZX24403?
Y'all need to get your car. Come
Y'all
on.
better get your cars. white Honda and a white Chevy and a black Honda. Okay, go on, baby.
All right. So, I've been doing a lot of research on the race and the candidates that are involved. So, I was looking at some of the numbers and some of the fundraising. So, one of the questions that came up was about gentrification. So, this question is about one of the top donors that I saw for one of these candidates was Timothy Sherwigger. Yeah, so he also donated like thousands of dollars to one of the candidates, but also donated over $150,000 to Bruce Rauner, who we know was all for gentrification. So what I want to know is, why are these donors comfortable being top donors, and what is it about the agenda that would make them want to focus directly on the 20th Ward?
Maya?
So I'm probably not going to answer her question well, but I do want to promote the will of the people. I think that we can focus on who donates to candidates, but at the end of the day, guys, this got to be about us. It has to be about us. Candidates accept contributions going along with the same old type of program that has existed in our city for a whole lot of years. That's how you get elected. We need to change things. Our kids deserve something better. So we can talk about who contributes, but at the end of the day, the vote, it belongs to us. So I hope you all use yours.
Okay, ticket persons. Ticket. Young lady right there.
I too feel like I've won the lottery. My husband and I have lived in Woodlawn for the last 7 years. We've attended church in Woodlawn probably for the last 18. So we've watched Woodlawn change over the years. In fact, over the last couple years, we've attended a lot of community meetings, and I see a lot of my neighbors who's also attended community meetings, and we've heard about the demographics of our community. One of the main things that we need to be concerned about is home ownership in our community. So, my question is, what would each one of you do to make sure that the existing homeowners can stay, and what would each one of you do to make sure that the people who are in Woodlawn and want to become homeowners can afford to become homeowners? Because we want to not only keep homeowners here, but we want to grow that population.
Who wants to answer that one? Nicole? Okay, wait a minute. Let's somebody different then. Mr. Yes. Mm-hmm. Nicole, answer the question. You can answer that one. No, baby. You answer.
Thank you. I want to be decent and in order. There are a couple things. At my quadrant meeting, where Deborah does such a great job of leading, we had individuals who would come into the meeting to let us know what individuals could do in order to make them better candidates for getting the type of financing so that they can purchase houses. And that's just in one quadrant meeting. But what I think needs to happen is there needs to be some type of home buying seminar continuously, not in just Woodlawn, but also in Inglewood, also in Washington Park, also in back of the yards, to inform people what they need to do in order to be eligible to purchase homes. I was a real estate attorney, and I understand that there are a whole myriad of things that people need to go through, not only their credit, they need to have a certain time on the job, but for individuals who want to purchase homes, then what happens is those home buyer seminars ought to be not just in Woodlawn, but throughout the 20th, so the people who want to live in Woodlawn can stay in Woodlawn. But I think there are a couple of things. I don't think that, and this may not be popular, but what happens is
done. Okay, you want to give him another couple of seconds? Okay, we'll give you another couple of seconds.
Yeah, I think we ought not to be afraid of what I call economic revitalization. I know people call it gentrification, but what happens is we just need to make sure that the individuals who are already in the ward are taken care of and that are able to provide that assistance where they can have affordable housing as well as first-time homeowners. But the other thing is when you have other individuals coming in, what that does is that increases the tax base, and it increases the area so that it becomes a viable area for businesses to establish and relocate.
Okay, Pastor, you had a question right there, Pastor? Okay, last question, Pastor.
Last question, okay, no pressure. John Robinson, I'm a pastor in Washington Park. I want each candidate to answer this question. What are the 20th Ward's 3 greatest strengths? And then specifically, what one thing will you do to maximize those strengths? As the alderman, what will you do as alderman or alderwoman to maximize the strengths that are already existing in the 20th Ward?
Andre Smith. First, I think that we are a community in a ward that have faith. You have, in Woodlawn, you have the network of Woodlawn and several other different people that come together, has been coming together ever since 2015, meeting about the strategy and about the properties and the development within Woodlawn. You know, Pastor, as well as Washington Park, I am the vice president for the Resident Advocacy Council in Washington Park. And me and Pastor was in Washington Park standing over someone that got shot. So Washington Park we have the parks as well as schools that's been closed that we can actually open up to bring job development. As well as State Street. We can bring major malls and things like that that will bring things in. You know, so I would say more than anything, the 20th Ward has been beat down, has been talked about, but more than anything, we are a ward of faith. We still believe.
Done. It's 1 minute each, everybody, please. Come on.
Okay, so the top 3, I would say the people, economic development. We have a lot of opportunities here in the 20th Ward to make this community great. The church leaders, as well as the community leaders, to name a few: Apostolic Church, University of Chicago, Alcarama Center, Clio Center. What I would do is, I believe transparency and accountability in government. I want to work with the people of the 20th Ward. We all need to be working together. We need to hold our elected officials accountable. You would need to, as the alderman, you will have to hold me accountable, making sure you come into the office, making sure we sit down. I would want to have communities in each ward, in each community. We will all sit down and talk about all the needs of our community because, once again, the 20th Ward belongs to us.
Nicole Johnson, candidate for Alderman, 20th Ward. Our 3 greatest assets are our people, our land, and our transportation. Starting with our land, to your question about housing protection, transferring 25% of public-owned land to land trust, allowing homeowners on those vacant lots to go and build a cooperative to build homes on those lands, and provide affordable housing for renters that need affordable units. That does 2 things. It expands their portfolio, those homeowners. 2, it creates community because they know who their neighbors are. And 3, it facilitates home ownership for those new renters. With our transportation, we have the Metro, which again can take you down to the South Suburban Airport. We have the Norfolk Southern expansion. We can develop some ancillary businesses along 63rd and State Street. There's a lot of industrial zone land there. And lastly, if we have these major economic engines in the 20th Ward, we can then invest in the people, attract more people to the 20th Ward, expand the tax base. We can get that grocery store that you need and more than one restaurant in the 20th Ward. I'm Nicole Johnson. I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Good evening again, Jennifer Maddox, and the 3 assets of the ward. And I'm going to say this quickly: people, people, people. People, 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 people. because we all need to work together. If we don't work together, none of this is going to work at all. We just got to be really realistic about this. You know, we have to support each other in our community. We have to stand up for one another, and that comes from neighbor to neighbor, block to block, street to street, all across the ward. So those are the three. You are the assets of this community. We can talk about transportation. We can talk about all the other things that have been mentioned, but if we don't stand strong as a community and do this together, because no one person that's sitting in that alderman seat can do it alone effectively. So you have to make sure that you are committed to this process, because it's a long-term process, and you have to be committed, just like I've been for the last 22 years, committed to doing this work, and I will be here. Thank you.
If I had a piece of paper, I would have swore Jennifer looked at my paper, but since I don't, I'm going to say that I agree with her. The strongest asset of the 20th Ward is the people, it's the people, it's the people. But what I don't think happens is there's no communication between the aldermen and the block club presidents. There's no communication between the aldermen. So what I want to do is I want to set up a system so that the information flows not only from the top down, but from the bottom up, but also from right to left. Because the 20th Ward, it's a fabulous place, and it's got some fabulous people. And I know that together we can make it what it was always meant to be. So it's the people, it's the people, it's the people. Denard Newell, and I would appreciate your support.
I'm Maya Hodari. So my top three, of course, is people. It's neighbors. I think that is the root of everything that's going to be vibrant in the 20th Ward. Being on the campaign has been amazing because I've gotten to know some of the other candidates, and I'm convinced even beyond this campaign, we'll do wonderful things together in the 20th Ward. Beyond that, I think another key thing is there are some good police officers and police staff. That's essential because we need the police to be more sensitive to community. We really need to build that trust. That's a key ingredient to squashing and mitigating the uptick in violence that we're seeing in the 20th Ward. So building on the good police department staff to continue to improve community engagement. The third thing is we do have some very strong commercial nodes in the 20th Ward. We need to exaggerate that. We need to use them as catalysts for more development, and we need to find ways to bring our neighbors and families back home to the 20th Ward.
Kevin Bailey, I believe the three key resources that we have is, of course, the people, our infrastructure, and our parks. Our community members have had decades of economic oppression where we haven't had access to things that we really need. We've been fighting public safety, and people are still expecting a better quality of life. They're still out here demanding things. They're demanding accountability, and you cannot go anywhere forward unless you have people pushing what's behind that. And the infrastructure that we have many stops, regardless if it's the metro or the train stations or the bus stops. And each one of those nodes where people get on and off can be an area of economic development. It can be an area where people can walk and live in a particular half-mile radius and do everything, work, live, and play. And our parks. Our parks are just natural attractants. People love living near parks, right? So if we have the people, we have the businesses, and we can get our public safety under control, the parks are a natural attractant to people to want to come into the area and help grow among us. So thank you very much.
Again, I'm Anthony Driver, and I think our three biggest assets is one, location. The 20th Ward is divided by the Dan Ryan, so we're about 10 to 15 minutes from downtown, right next to Lakeshore Drive. You can get to Midway Airport very quickly. We talk about gentrification, but why do people want to come to this area? It's because of the prime location. It's because of the prime real estate. Number two, the youth groups. So I'm sure you all are familiar with the Laquan McDonald case. A lot of the youth groups that led that movement came from the 20th Ward, the Breathing Room Collective, Good Kids Mad City, Asada's Daughters are all home in the 20th Ward. And lastly, the people. We've seen extreme destabilization in our community. We've seen lead in our water. We've seen a high murder rate. We've seen a high incarceration rate. You name it, we've had to deal with it, and yet still we stand. Yet still we're here. We're still resilient. So for the grandmother who refused to say no when Norfolk Southern tried to push her out of Inglewood, thank you. For the grandfather that stayed when the property taxes rise, thank you. For those who do come out and participate in the democratic process, even though there's been significant pushes to decrease the voter base, thank you. So I think our people are definitely our strongest asset, as well as our youth groups and the location.
Kamitha Hill. I believe that our strongest assets are community and land, and within that, it is business and housing. And I think that all of those things are interrelated because the alderman is supposed to be the liaison between the community and City Hall. We are supposed to be advocating on behalf of our communities. And I think that there does need to be a system in place that checks that position. The alderman should be out in the streets every day, visiting homes, community centers, residential areas, businesses, finding out the needs of the people and talking with the people to really listen to what is needed here, because we can have ideas, and we do have ideas, but it's very important to listen to our residents and the people who are in the community so that we can accurately build up this community the way that it should be.
Excellent, excellent. Thank all of you. What we are going to do now, first, and my co-host has said, let's do this and get everybody to say one last thing. First, we all want to thank all of you for coming out. Give yourselves a big round of applause. This is nothing short of great. Sorry we didn't get to take some questions more from the floor, but that's something we'll work out. You know, sometimes things get confused relative to these events. So again, thank you so much, and to all the organizations that are involved. And we're going to have just one quick last statement. So I hope you didn't shoot it all already. One quick last statement from each candidate for 1 minute. That'll be it, and that will end this. I'm sorry? 30 seconds, okay. My co-host says 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Let's start right here and just go. And thanks all of you for coming out. You've been great, great audience. And I'll talk about how great you folks are tomorrow on my show. Believe me. All right?
Kamitha Hill, and I think that the 20th Ward is an area that has been disinvested in for far too long. And it's time for City Hall to pay attention and to invest in our housing and our schools and our youth and our businesses. There's a lot of potential here that the city of Chicago has ignored, and I truly believe that Woodlawn is going to be the catalyst that changes this city for the better.
Again, I'm Anthony Driver, and I would like for you to imagine a possibility. Imagine the possibility of an alderman who supported a $15 minimum wage and fought for it every single day. Imagine the possibility of an alderman who wasn't afraid of the community he served. Imagine the possibility of an alderman who, instead of stealing your money, would be transparent and mail you out every quarter a budget of where every single dollar of your tax dollars is spent, where you can go online and fact check that. Imagine if we put our aldermen under that type of scrutiny. Imagine how far we can go as a community. I'm Anthony Driver, and I'm hoping to be that alderman. Thank you.
I'm Kevin Bailey, committeeman, and our community is facing a number of issues. We're facing gentrification. We're facing economic oppression. We're facing a lot of opportunities that are coming before us, but we have to have people with the actual experience that know how to budget, to be accountable, to be transparent, and to be active and work hard. Over the last 3 years that I've been committeeman, I've been focused on making sure I get out, see as many people as I can, knock on doors, establish all types of committees to focus on specific issues. I've learned as much as I could to translate my work experience from a budgetary standpoint, what we can do here at the city, and I ask for your help and support going on to the Aldermanic race. Thank you very much.
My name is Maya Hodari, and I'm asking for your vote to become the next alderman of the 20th Ward. I'm simply a mother trying to advocate for the voice of everyday people in the 20th Ward, trying to empower us to be part of the decision making. I'm simply a woman who has spent her career working in redevelopment and is inspired to bring all my experience to focus on building up neighborhoods in the 20th Ward. I'm simply a Southsider who's been committed and will continue to do work in our neighborhoods until things change. I'm asking for your vote on February 26th.
How you doing? My name is Denard Newell. First thing I'd like to do is share some good news with all of you. Oh, it was good news to me. I am officially on the ballot. But what I want to say is that the 20th Ward is at the precipice of something great. There's going to be a lot of development that's happening, and you need a leader with new vision, new direction. You need someone that's going to listen to you and to make sure that you're represented whether you're in the room or whether you're not in the room. And I want you to know that I'm going to bring to bear my experience as an attorney, as a pastor, as a business owner, as an investigator to make sure that the 20th Ward gets everything that it has coming to it. And I want you to know that there's not a day that doesn't go by that I'm not going to give you my best because I believe that that's what you deserve. My name is Denard Newell, and I would appreciate your support for Alderman of the 20th Ward.
Again, my name is Jennifer Maddox. I am so excited, geeked, and pumped. Already been doing the work, ready to continue to do this work. I want you guys' support. Punch number 67 on that ballot, February the 26th. Let's get this started. We deserve better, we're going to do better, and we know better. Thank you.
Nicole Johnson, candidate for alderman. We have a remarkable opportunity here in Chicago, a new mayor and a new alderman in Chicago's 20th Ward. We don't get opportunities like this every 4 years. So when you make your choice on February 26th, choose wisely. The vision that my leadership office is one that includes your child's future. I'm a teacher, and I've been working with young people my entire life. And I'm also concerned about making sure that the 20th Ward is a place that we can have people return home, those who had to leave. I'm Nicole Johnson, and I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Here in the 20th Ward, we need an alderman that's going to be compassionate, competent, visible, someone we can trust. I'm not uniquely qualified because I have 2 master's degrees. I've worked 15 years in corporate America, a JD or MBA, or managed multi-million-dollar budgets. But because I've been out here in these streets, I've been out here talking to the residents. I've been working with community leaders as well as church leaders and speaking to principals at schools. I believe in transparency and accountability in the government. We all will have a seat at the table if I'm voted in as the 20th Ward Alderman. Remember, once again, the 20th Ward belongs to us. My name is Quandra Spates. I look forward to your vote on February 26th. Thank you.
I'm Andre Smith. I haven't prepared a speech because life is real. And it's all about what you've done, not what you're going to do. Most candidates get put in a room, they get told what to say, and they get tied to organizations that has a body of work. Andre Smith is by himself. He's not with an organization. Matter of fact, I created an organization called Chicago Against Violence because I spent 27 years of my life out there fighting for you. 61st and Kimball, where they lived. I fought for that property, had that property reconstruction. The trauma center, I helped get that here because a young man got shot and killed. By the time he got to Northwestern, he was dead. 65th and Cottage. You couldn't go up there without them shooting. It's changed. Andre Smith is the real thing, and he do the real work. Thank you so much.
Okay, once again, we would like to thank all the candidates for coming out today, and we leave you with a homework assignment of studying that budget, know that budget, where's our money and where's it going, and fight for us to get more money in the neighborhood. That's your homework assignment, whoever become alderman. All of you, please drop your question cards in the bowl outside, and we will try to see if we can get back to them, all right? Thank you guys for coming out, and I hope this was informational and helpful. Thank you.